Alex here with a legal nuts and bolts video on exemptions from execution. I did not talk about this very much in my video on execution. Most of that video talked about how to seize assets, and I did glaze over the fact that as a judgment debtor, you can claim exemptions and basically protect your stuff from being taken from you. I wanted to go ahead and dedicate a video on it right now, even though it's not going to be a long video. I really just think that people should know that this exists and that they should definitely look into it if they are too poor. If you are not paying your debts because you cannot afford to pay them, you're just making way too little money, you can actually go to the courthouse and file an affidavit claiming exemptions. And in the affidavit, you list the property that you want to be protected. These are taken very seriously in Nevada. The court's not going to scold you and say you should pay this because you lost your lawsuits. No, they'll treat you with respect. Creditors are supposed to know that there are limitations on what they can get from a debtor. And businesses take this into consideration when they give out loans, when they give you cars and stuff like that. The real problem comes down to little guy suing another little guy. You can get a very strong sense of unfairness if you win your lawsuit and you can't collect the money because your opponent is just there. They don't have any money. They're too poor. But it is something that's in our statutory scheme, and it's probably in all 50 states because the states are understanding of the fact that if you lose a lawsuit, you should have to pay because you've done some wrong. But at the same time, you shouldn't be put out on the street. You shouldn't be rendered. You shouldn't be made poor and you shouldn't be put out there and made to be a bum just because you lost your lawsuit. It's just, they don't want that. And in fact, it makes it harder for you to pay back a debt if you can't maintain a place of residence and a job and have a car that you can use to get to your job and stuff. By the way, that's one of the things you can protect. You can protect your car if it's under a certain amount of value. If you have multiple cars, that's probably a problem. But if you just have one car, that's something you can protect. You can protect your house if it's homesteaded. You need a place to live. You need a way that you can drive to work. And that helps the judgment creditor because if you're working, you can pay your debt. You also need a certain minimum amount of money just to survive. So a certain minimum amount of your wages are protected. In fact, those are protected automatically. If you don't go to court and do an affidavit claiming exemption, at least your wages will be protected. At least a certain portion of them will be. What else was I going to mention? Bank account. Your bank account, from my understanding, is that at $400, at least $400 of your bank account cannot be touched. So again, that's automatic now. It didn't used to be. In fact, I'm not sure that there ever was a minimal for the bank accounts, at least not before. But that's also automatically protected. The banks will apply that exemption for you even if you don't actually go and do it. But other things like jewelry and furniture and like clothing and other things like that have various different limitations on what's protected and what's not. I'm sure work like tools of the trade are probably protected. Again, anything that's going to help you make money so you can pay the judgment is going to be protected. Only a vindictive judgment creditor is going to try to take that from you because you're going to lose your ability to pay them once you lose your ability to work. But anyway, sometimes you actually have to really go and fight because some judgment creditors are a little bit vindictive or aren't really thinking long term. My understanding that there was other thing I was going to mention concerning filing the affidavit claiming exemption. I think it's free. And it's not like anyone's going to tell you to do that. You're going to have to go in and find out on your own. I'm not sure that the judges or the justices of the peace are telling the judgment debtors that they can do this. I'm not sure because it might seem a little bit one-sided or unfair. The judge might be seeming like he's taking the side of the judgment debtor by telling you, especially in front of the judgment creditor, that you can go claim exemptions. So if you don't know about this, you may end up kind of suffering a little bit because you may end up getting some of your stuff taken that shouldn't have been taken. I think there are also provisions in there for like retirement, 401k, things like that. The last thing I wanted to mention is that child support is special and you can probably not claim as many exemptions if you owe child support. I'm sure that there are special provisions in there that bypasses the exemption limitations and all that. Like, for example, if you're not making enough money to survive, I still think that child support can actually take that little bit of money that you do have from you, sadly. The $400 limit on a bank account levy, I don't think that applies for child support. I'm pretty sure they can just clean the whole account out. Child support is just super powerful. There's also concerns with, I think, like alimony. I'm not sure if it's all the same rules that apply to child support or not, but there may be ways for people to get around like your exemptions to like touch your retirement 401k and stuff if you owe alimony. I'm not going to look into all these little details. The whole point of this video was to just let people know that if you've lost your lawsuit and you have a judgment against you, that you can file an affidavit claiming exemptions and try to protect some of your stuff so that your opponent doesn't try to take everything from you. So there is just a certain minimal amount of stuff that you just are entitled to keep even if you owe money through a judgment, just so that you can live and survive. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this video, and I will see you guys next time.